Championship Sunday with the Buffalo Bills taking on the Kansas City Chiefs. Whew, what a big game. Biggest game of my adult life.
Certainly.
What about you guys?
Exciting.
It doesn't even feel real. Like, the Bills are about to play to be in a Super Bowl. Like, did you, be honest with yourself, did you ever think that we would be able to say that, like, in our lifetime?
Yes.
No.
Oh, you mean
if you're an early listener to the Hoof Podcast,
Yeah.
you know we were negative.
Big time negative. It's hard to believe.
Yeah. This show was built on negativity.
Yeah, dude, we've been battered and beaten for years, and that was therapy for us to just get it all out. You know what I'm saying? Like, it was AA for us, bro. Like, we had to just go through the steps of recovery.
Yeah. I know. So now that they're good, it's like this is not boring.
You know, and even at the beginning, when, you know, I said constantly that first year of McDermott, it's like, wow, this actually feels different. The Bills aren't being mediocre, or the Bills aren't losing these games when they have a lead, or, you know, just little things like that. Certainly that first year, none of us were like, oh, we're going to win the Super Bowl, you know, because we were just taking the fact that it felt different. And every step of the way, obviously, McDermott has grown the team until last year, when I think I had expectations going in that we would win a playoff game last year. And as soon as the season ended, I said we would be here this year, because this team has done nothing but grow. They put the pieces in place that we needed, and here we are in the championship game. 2 more games to win, and you're top of the league. You are the top dog. So you can't say the Bills aren't in it anymore. We're there.
Yeah, it's really unbelievable. And, like, just to have a franchise quarterback, there's no doubt in my mind anymore. Josh Allen's the franchise quarterback of the Buffalo Bills. And I remember we talk about Tyrod. We talk about maybe Josh isn't the guy. Some people wanted Josh Rosen. I mean, just like how relieved are you just to know that it's all coming together? It's all together. Yeah. This team's going to be good for the next, X amount of years.
Yeah, and that's fun. I mean, it's really fun to just really sit there and think about, like, the Bills having success consistently.
That's how it should be. Yeah,
right?
I mean, that's when you set up a franchise the right way, and you can find that consistency and be on the same page from top of the organization down to the players, which we are now. I mean, that's where this team is now. It feels really good, and you know that consistency is going to be there. Regardless of what happens in this game this weekend, our expectation is to be here next year, and the year after that, and the year after that. And nobody can say that's homerism or that's, not. It's just, it is what it is. It's common sense now. The Bills are good. They put themselves in this position. We are going to expect to be here every year now.
Yeah, and I think it's fair to say, I heard a good thing earlier, you can't even compete for a Super Bowl. You cannot even compete for a Super Bowl without a franchise quarterback.
Yeah, it's true. It's true. And we haven't been in a position, like, how, like, Anthony, you just mentioned, like, when you have the right pieces in place from a top down in the organization, things are supposed to flow and be healthy. The thing is with that, though, is that I've always thought the Bills had that, and I know they didn't, but, you have your homer goggles on and you want to hope and pray for the best of this team, and it's like we've been, bamboozled so many times.
Yeah. Well,
it's
I think
hard.
That's what I was getting at when I said it feels different, though, right? From the day McDermott walked in the door, it was like, oh, is this what it feels like when your team really is good? Because I agree, I did not like the Rex Ryan hire, but I cheered my ass off and certainly said we're gonna win playoff games. We're gonna get to the Super Bowl with Rex Ryan as coach. But did I feel it in my heart of hearts? Maybe not. But now it's a totally different thing. That's going to be the expectation moving forward. And damn, that's a new feeling, and it feels good.
Yeah, for sure. We were mentioning quarterbacks. Well, there's 4 great quarterbacks in the Final Four, the championship games. And just kind of looking around at the competition, Tom Brady's been here before, Aaron Rodgers been here before, Pat Mahomes is the new age. And then you got our guy, Josh Allen. I mean, does he have the most to prove compared to these other 3 quarterbacks?
That's hard because I don't think he has the most to prove. I mean, he's a baby when it comes to postseason success. You know, I think the top dog. I think the onus is on Mahomes and Rodgers to perform. I mean, Rodgers has a legacy, right? His legacy has been written by I don't say bad ownership, but they just haven't taken advantage of his abilities, right? You know, and to be one of the top quarterbacks of your age, you only have one Super Bowl ring, right? I think it's on him to prove everybody wrong in a sense, to prove that he's their guy, and just keep it real. Like, we weren't talking about Aaron Rodgers like this last year or the year before. He just wasn't playing all that well, I guess, in terms of what his ceiling is, right? So he's kind of come back onto the scene. He's a 37-year-old quarterback, and then you got Tom Brady. Okay, he's the quote-unquote, he's the GOAT. And then you got Patrick Mahomes, who's been to the AFC Championship game at least in the past 3 years. So Josh Allen, I mean, I don't think the pressure's on him at all. Maybe from a Buffalo standpoint, because we haven't had this, but from a national perspective, I don't think so.
Yeah, I think you're right from a point, Sterling, that if you look at it from the outside, it's easy to say that Josh has the most to prove. All the rest of them have won Super Bowls. All the rest of them have been here before. Josh Allen hasn't. It's like, hey, who's the new guy, right, from the outside? But I'm leaning more towards Sterling, that the guy who has to prove it is Aaron Rodgers. Without a doubt, one of the most talented quarterbacks ever in history of the NFL. And, you know, he's only a one-time Super Bowl champion. And so his legacy, Tom Brady's, is pretty much written itself. He had 1 year in the NFC, and he's in the NFC Championship game. That is embarrassing to the NFC. I'm sorry, but in 1 year, and he's managed to do it again and get there. So, you know, he doesn't have much to prove. He's probably got the least to prove. Mahomes, we expect that he will be here again, just as much as we're saying that Josh Allen will be here, and this Bills team will now be expected to be here again. So, Aaron Rodgers probably has the most on the line in terms of his legacy, but Josh Allen has the most to prove in terms of what you've done for me so far.
Right, and I'm gonna say Josh Allen does have the most to prove, because these other guys, Aaron Rodgers is a Hall of Famer, win or lose. You know, Pat Mahomes is the new darling of the NFL, and he's going to be the darling of the NFL moving forward. Who's Josh in the national stage? Yeah. Right, he's the guy that got overlooked. He's the guy who put in all the emails. I mean, everyone knows his story, but like, for him to be a darling like, you know, Pat Mahomes, like Aaron Rodgers, like Tom Brady, he's got to win the Super Bowl. And you're so close, you know? And not to mention what Josh does for his team. The entire offense goes through Josh Allen. They don't have a running game, really, or they don't use it. So, I mean, I think he does have the most to prove. He's got to put the team on his back and show up and prove that he's going to be a great quarterback and a future Hall of Famer. And his opportunities right now.
One thing you're missing, though, Eric, is that quarterbacks it's not that easy for a quarterback to go into a conference championship game, win, and then represent their team in the Super Bowl and win that. That's something that's rare, right? I mean, it took Patrick Mahomes 2 years to get that done. He should have got it that first year, but Brady knocked him out, and that's still a loss. No matter how you want to slice it, it's still a loss. And so, like we were talking on the show on Monday night, it's one of those things to where, you know, will I be sad if the Bills were to lose this game? Yeah. But you know what? Like, it goes to the intangibles of who Josh Allen is and his genetic makeup and knowing that he's a fighter. Like, you're going to take that medicine. Like, he took it last year in the playoffs, and then look what it turned into this year. So, I mean, look, I am all for Bills championship, AFC Championship, and Super Bowl victory, but I got to temper the expectations and realize that, like, this is the biggest game of his entire life. He's never been in this position that he's in. And he hasn't played, from a statistical point of view, he hasn't been lights out. I mean, these defenses and stuff and the games that he's played, you know, it's kind of different now. You know, it's a different beast. And none of the quarterbacks, I would say, in the playoffs have been just lighting it up. So, you know, it's an adjustment period. So I'm not expecting him to just be all world all the time. But if there's a week to do that, I think there's an opportunity to do it this week.
Yeah, I think he's just so close. You know, you got to step up and take over. I mean, teams don't get this far every single season, right? You did mention it's so difficult to get here. I think Josh just got to do everything he can to take advantage of the opportunity. You never know when it's coming back again, right? But let's flip it over to the coaches. Which coach do you think has the most to prove? Is it Sean McDermott? We all know who Andy Reid is. I mean, Bruce Arians been here before with the Cardinals and the Steelers as a coordinator. And Matt LaFleur, kind of the new guy as well. Coming from Tennessee, now his second season with the Packers. Both his seasons, he got 13 wins for that team and 2 NFC Championship appearances. So, who has to get over the hump more, in your opinion?
Anthony, you want to go first on this? Or you?
Sure, yeah. I mean, I got to go Arians all the way here because it kind of matches the conversation we just had. If you're talking about young and unaccomplished, sure, you know, LaFleur and even McDermott are in that category where they're just, this is new for them, but we expect them to be here every year now. They are going to have 10 years to build the legacy that a guy like Arians has, right? So Tampa Bay is in a situation where he's got to prove it now. I mean, Arians, they have a lot more to prove than any of the other coaching staffs for me, for the same reason that we talked about Josh Allen. Yeah. So for me, it's them because if he doesn't do it with this roster and this coach, you know, and all the hype they had coming in, what else can you do for him? You know, his job might even be on the line if he doesn't win. Not realistically, but it could happen that they're like, you know what, we're just going to hire somebody else because this roster's too good to waste for another year. So, and especially after the season he had last year, it's not like he was building up to this. They had to kind of scrap it and bring in Brady and all these guys and, you know, try again. And even that, the regular season was pretty underwhelming. Even the postseason so far has been okay. You made it this far. But if they can beat Green Bay and make a statement, good for them. But even then, I feel like the pressure is on him to win it all. If he doesn't win it all, it's not good enough. If Sean McDermott or LaFleur loses, we know they're going to be here again. It's not the end of their legacy. It's the start of it. So that's where it ends for me.
Okay, so I was going to go Bruce Arians. That was my initial answer. But you know what? Just for sake of content, I'm going to go with Andy Reid, and I'll tell you why. You have the one of the best quarterbacks of our generation has ever seen. There is an expectation when you have such a great gift, and not only that, but really you have the best weapons in the playoffs or in the NFL. Period. Tyreek Hill, you know, Travis Kelce. I mean, they have a plethora of weapons. We've also known outside of last year, okay, they won a Super Bowl, but Andy Reid has been the king of choke. He's always choked in the postseason, kind of like Marty Schottenheimer choked in the postseason, right? And then on top of that, here comes Sean McDermott. Sean McDermott coached under Andy Reid in Philadelphia. Sean McDermott was also fired as a defensive coordinator. So Sean McDermott knows the tendencies of this Andy Reid offense, right? And I think there's something to prove. Andy Reid is going to have to come up big, right? You're the top dog. There's an expectation for you because you won a Super Bowl last year, right? We put the same onus on Bill Belichick, right? I think the same level of expectancy should go on Kansas City coach Andy Reid.
Yeah, I'm going to go Matt LaFleur just because they've dominated the regular season, right? And now you're starting to fall in that pit of Aaron Rodgers and Matt LaFleur, you know, stuck in the postseason, right? Kind of like the Saints with Sean Payton and Drew Brees. And Aaron doesn't have a lot of years left, right? Brady has his rings. He's won with his team. This is still Aaron's team. He's still somewhat in his, you know, the twilight of his career, right? I think Aaron Rodgers and Matt LaFleur both have to get over the hump, and I think a lot of pressure is on Matt LaFleur and being a young coach and bringing his style to Green Bay, which has been very successful. Like, I think you have to top it off. Anyway, let's move on to cash or trash.
We're gonna do a little cash or trash. That's trash, bro.
I'm gonna go cash on that.
And Anthony's up first. Let's go. The Bills won the 2017 NFL draft trade that involved Pat Mahomes and Trey White, as the Bills now ended up with Tremaine Edmonds and Josh Allen from that. Can we finally put it to bed and say the Bills won that trade?
Absolutely. Cash all day long. And I've said this since the preseason. And people thought I was crazy because they were like, oh, you wouldn't trade Mahomes for Josh Allen and Trey White and Tremaine Edmonds? No. Are you kidding me? No. I want Josh Allen, Tremaine Edmonds, and Trey White. I'd rather have 3 key cogs in a team than 1 Pat Mahomes. And now we've seen the step that Josh Allen has taken this year, and now it looks like a much easier decision. I mean, everybody was dogging me in the preseason for saying that, but now it's the obvious choice, right? It's definitely cash all the way. That was the right way to go. And I know we've argued with Sterling about this, going defense when you're a defensive coach and starting there to build the team rather than drafting a quarterback to start off your coaching career. So maybe Sterling will disagree. I don't know.
Oh, you already know I'm going to go trash, but I respect your opinion. And I'll say this. It's like I don't think either is wrong, right? I'm going to take a very Switzerland approach here. You know how sometimes there's 2 roads you could take, right? There's 2 decisions that could be made, but neither one of them are wrong. You're just going to have different outcomes. I think that's what that trade was. Josh Allen has come into his own, which is great. And, yeah, you're right. When we got a couple, Tremaine Edmonds is a Pro Bowl linebacker. And did he get second team all? Did Tremaine Edmonds get second team all pro? I'm not sure. But we know Tre'Davious White got all pro last year, was second team all pro. And you got a really damn good quarterback. So, Patrick Mahomes he's going to go down as the best quarterback of all time, probably. I mean, realistically, he's going to shatter all the records. I don't think that's.
I don't know about that. He didn't look that great this year.
Well, just think about it though. When you're a top dog, everybody's gunning for you. So it's tough to be on that pedestal right there. So I'll give him some grace for that. I'll give him some grace for that. I mean, he didn't play horrible. He's still probably he's third in the MVP race. I mean, he's still that guy. Yeah. I can't hate on him there.
Yeah, Pat Mahomes definitely is the best player in the NFL right now, still, in my opinion. Just because the plays he makes, he does have a hell of a cast.
Skill set, sure.
Well,
but he's not even. The 2 MVPs are Aaron Rodgers, Josh Allen, and then people were bringing up, Stephon Diggs and Henry, and then maybe Mahomes. So he certainly wasn't that caliber player this year. I mean, he still is the most talented. There's no doubt. If people could draft 1 quarterback to start their team, they would take Mahomes right now. But if Allen beats him,
because he is the best quarterback
this weekend, that conversation changes.
I don't know. They only lost 1 game this year. Certainly. Team effort, right? And Mahomes leads the way in the team. And coming off the Super Bowl win, how many MVPs does Tom Brady have? You know what I'm saying? But we still consider him the greatest of all time. I think Pat Mahomes in that conversation. But with the drafting and things like that, we didn't know Josh Allen was going to be good, right? We had a, some of us thought it'd be good, but did we actually know he'd be this good? I don't think so. Do we know he'd be, in the conversation for MVP? We all thought it was a good idea, and statistically with his improvements, yeah, he should be. And, so I think a lot of luck goes into this conversation, and I'll take luck all damn day when you can get it. So I think we put this to bed. The Bills did win. They can have Pat Mahomes. We'll take Josh Allen. Anyway, let's move on. Sterling, you're up. If the Bills use the same defensive game plan that they used against Kansas City earlier in the season, they win.
Nope. That game plan was horrible. It was terrible. I don't know. This is a different Bills team coming into this AFC Championship game. Back in Week 6, we had a plethora of injuries. The Bills didn't know when they were going to, if and when they were going to play a game. Josh Allen was injured. The offense was still gelling together. No John Feliciano. Levi Wallace had a messed up ankle. Taron Johnson was playing like shit. It was all over the place. So I think the Bills now, they kind of found their groove. They have their confidence. In week 6, they were more focused on the run, right? I mean, they were more focused on the pass, and they just didn't give a shit about the run. You saw the Chiefs line up in 21 personnel, and Patrick Mahomes was just handing the ball off, right? This time, it's a different ball game. I think you're going to see a lot of cover one looks. You know, one safety up top. They're going to disguise and use Jordan Poyer, Micah Hyde to kind of play in the box, but then go out in the coverage. I think what they're going to try to do is to confuse Mahomes as much as possible, kind of force him to throw into different pass lanes in that zone. It's going to be a completely different game plan.
I'm very confused by what Sterling just said, because my answer is cash. They will win if they come in with the same game plan that they did last time, and it'll work out differently for every reason that Sterling just listed. Those guys were hurt. The whole team was banged up. We didn't know who we were playing. Josh Allen was hurt, and that one is the biggest one for me. If you can slow down Pat Mahomes in that pass game, I would let them run all day like they did last time, and we would beat them in this game. Not saying that's going to happen, because I have much stronger belief in our defense to stop the run, to be better at stopping the run, to be better to hold the pass the way they did in that game, and be better at stopping the run for every reason Sterling said. All of those injuries. A.J. Klein was starting in that game when he was crap. Taron Johnson was starting in that game when he was crap. And it was, this team is totally different. And for that reason, yeah, you could go in with that same game plan and absolutely win. And the biggest reason is our offense is significantly better than it was in that game when, again, Josh Allen was injured. It was a crappy weather game, wet ball, so our offensive game plan was thrown off. And it played into the hands of Kansas City, as we know, for that game. But for me, yeah, do it. It would absolutely work. If you can shut down the pass, I don't care if they rush for 280 yards, you're going to beat them, period. Our offense will beat them. That's not ideal, but let's see what happens.
Right, so the Bills let them run, basically, and Edwards-Helaire had a hell of a game. I'm not sure statistically, but I know it was one of his better games the entire year. But we really haven't seen a lot of him with the Chiefs the last few weeks. They've been running Darnell Williams a ton. Really haven't seen Le'Veon Bell all that much either.
Been banged up, but Bell has not been effective. I mean, Clyde Edwards-Helaire has been hurt, but...
Right, he's been banged up. But Darrell Williams has been pretty much the go-to guy. He's a pounder. So, I mean, that's going to be different from the game that they played earlier in the season.
I mean, Clyde Edwards-Helaire, he definitely, he was playing well. I'm not going to take that from him. But, yeah, he's been injured. And Le'Veon Bell is not the same Le'Veon Bell that we all thought he was. If Adam Gase did one thing right, it was releasing Le'Veon Bell, because he has not proven to be the back that we all thought he once was. I do like the fact that the Bills' defensive line is kind of coming to their own now. And I think, we saw last week with Lamar Jackson. The front four effectively got consistent pressure on Lamar Jackson, to the point where Jerry Hughes stopped 2 potential touchdown passes, right? So, and he had 2 sacks. Trent Murphy, of all people, actually looked decent. Yeah, right?
Who?
That guy.
Don't even get me going. But yeah, he did. Yeah. He made a play in this game.
Yeah, and we're going to call it like it is. Trent Murphy played a decent game. I'm not going to take nothing from him. But so the fact that the defensive line is playing the way they're playing, I think that, the Chiefs are going to have to change their game plan on offense. I don't think they're going to come at it with a run-first approach, no matter who their running back is. I think they're going to try to line them up, 3, 4, 5 wide receivers, and try to make plays. And the Bills are going to use the same game plan against them when the Bills have the ball. Look, it's the playoffs. You put your best foot forward. Don't get cute, right? If your thing is throwing the ball, throw the damn ball. You're going to have to sprinkle in the run every now and then, but that should not be the main focus of what your attack should look like. So I think these two teams are going to look very similar on the offensive side of the ball. So I think it's going to come down to the last possession. That's what I really do think.
Yeah, and then hopefully the Bills' defense steps up. All right, so I got 2 more. Let's go. Last Bills question for Cash or Trash.
Is it my turn? Yeah.
Anthony, you're up. The Bills are the least talented team in the Final Four, roster-wise.
Ooh. So you mean like player for player? I'm still going to go Trash.
Yeah, player
only
for
because
player.
I think our defense is better than most think, right? if you look at Tampa Bay's defense or even the Chiefs' defense, as we're going to get into in a minute, do they have some names on that defense? Sure, they've got Tyrann Mathieu. Sure, they've got one pass rusher. Sure, they've got some decent guys here and there. But they have glaring holes. And you know what the Buffalo Bills do not have on defense? Holes. Period. There is no hole. Our defense is stout for a reason. It's because we're built top to bottom. So if you go player for player and grade them on a scale, do I think the Bills would come out as the lowest in the playoffs right now? No. Because on offense, where are you going to put Josh Allen among these quarterbacks? Where are you going to put Stephon Diggs among these wide receivers? You know, I mean, running back might be a weak position for us, but our offensive line is pretty damn good. You know, so it's Cole Beasley, John Brown. Who can say they have those three top receivers left on this playoff? You know, maybe Tampa Bay, but certainly, again, our defense is better than theirs. So, no, I think that's absolute trash. I think you could make a better argument that the Bills have the best roster remaining in the playoffs, spot for spot, if you're ranking them and come up with some kind of team average.
Ooh, I like that. So I'm going to go ahead and say the Bills don't have the best top-end talent, but I say they have the best depth in this playoffs. Okay? I think there are teams, I think Tampa Bay has better top-end talent than the Bills. I would say the Bills and the Packers are probably on the same par as far as where their top-end talent, meaning their starters, are. But the Bills, in terms of depth, can't see the edges of everybody as far as like wide receivers, tight end, combination of offense, right? But the Bills, from offensive line to defensive line to cornerback, I mean, we have a more solid team than all the other teams. But I won't say we're the most talented team in the playoffs.
Yeah, I think they're probably in the middle somewhere. I think you can make the argument that they are a more talented team on paper than Kansas City, especially on defense. But I think the Bills thing is they play with a lot of heart. They definitely have the most heart out of any of these other teams. You know, the team supports each other. You know, when Taron Johnson was running down the field, everyone's jumping and screaming. The Bills have been doing that for 3 years. We know that. You don't see that so much with these other teams. You know, the team clearly loves Josh Allen. I don't see that with Green Bay and Aaron Rodgers, right? They respect him for obvious reasons. But, I mean, Josh is one of the guys, right? And that's what I love about this Bills team and this coaching staff is the team loves each other and they lay it on the line for each other. So talent doesn't matter at the end of the day when you have that. All right, let's touch on one off-topic subject. Desean Watson will start for an AFC East team next season. What do you think about that, Sterling?
So, look, I mean, there's 3 teams in the AFC East that could land Desean Watson. Miami, the Jets, and the Patriots are all 3 teams. And the only outside team outside of that I could potentially see him going to probably be San Francisco and maybe Indianapolis. I don't think they're smart enough to do that. And I don't know if Desean Watson will want to play for the Bears, seeing that they passed him up that draft. So I think there's a really good chance that he plays in the AFC East. And I hate to say it, but it's probably going to happen. Miami can offer him a bevy of picks. Yeah. And they can give you Tua.
But they got Tua. They've already committed to Tua.
Tua's not good.
Tua's going to be our guy next year. We know that, but they don't.
They said that about Josh Rosen. Okay, they were like, yeah, he's our guy, and then 2 months later, yeah, they shipped him out. I just think that, if you had just think about it. If you had the opportunity to get Deshaun Watson or Tua, you take Deshaun Watson. Watson or Sam Darnold, you take Deshaun Watson. Cam Newton and Jarrett Stidham, Deshaun Watson, you take Deshaun Watson. So, I think, So those teams have an opportunity to land a big fish.
You're right that any of those 3 teams, they would give up anything to get Deshaun Watson because Deshaun Watson is a top 5 quarterback without even blinking on this team. On a bad Texans team, he's the top 5 QB. So I'm going to say trash for the sake of the Buffalo Bills because I do not want it to happen. So, it is. You can absolutely say. I'm only saying no because I don't want it to happen. So I'm like, calling up the other teams like Indy and being like, don't you want Deshaun Watson? Give up 5 first-round picks for this guy, and it's going to pay off. Okay, so, just give up anything. Who's your best player? Give him up. Because if New England or Miami or even the lowly Jets end up with Deshaun Watson, they are immediately competing with the Buffalo Bills for this division. And he's that good of a player. I don't care who's around him. This isn't Cam Newton on one leg, and God only knows what he can do going to the Patriots. If Deshaun Watson goes to the Patriots with the same weapons that Cam Newton had, that team is competing with the Buffalo Bills for this division down to the wire. I still think the Bills have the edge, but if they could surround him with something and he goes there, my God, we're in trouble. So, no, I don't want to see Deshaun Watson twice a year. Hell, it's bad enough seeing him once a year. So, no, thank you. Hopefully he stays in Houston, whoever comes in there. Leslie Frazier interviewed for that job. I think if he gets that job, Deshaun Watson might consider staying.
I don't know. I think the bridge is already burnt. It's going to take a lot to recruit him back to Houston. Of these teams that we're talking about, I think Miami has the best shot to land him because you have the picks, but the Jets have a lot of needs, and Miami doesn't have that anymore. Had the picks last year, right? Had a good free agency. I don't see the Jets making a move because they are in a position to get a quarterback if that's what they want at the number 2 spot. But they also have a ton of holes. They need every draft pick that they have. Miami, I don't think that's the case, right? You could easily trade that number 3 pick away and add some other stuff, get Watson, and then you're a complete football team. If they're not all in to get Deshaun Watson, I don't know what you're doing. You could skip this quarterback development stuff. I get it. Tua, he might turn into a better player than what we've seen so far. But like when Deshaun Watson is available and you have a number 3 pick, don't even think about it. Don't even think about it. Just move on. It didn't work out, and the faster you correct a wrong, the faster you can be competitive.
Puts that team over the edge.
And that's really the only scenario that I see working out. The rest are a little bit iffy because they don't have the draft capital. To land a guy like Deshaun Watson, what do you think? 3 first-rounders? That's just
3
starting.
or 4,
and they've got 2 this year to give him. So, I would say at least, if you don't go 4, then it'd be the 2 this year, 1 next year, and 2 seconds at the minimum. So, I mean, but yeah, I wouldn't even. The Texans need those picks, so they're going to milk it. They're going to say, give us 6 first-rounders and then counter, So they could get it, though. Again, if I'm one of those teams, there is no asking price I will not give for Deshaun Watson. Literally, you want 6 first-rounders? Here you go. Give me Deshaun Watson all day long.
Yeah,
I mean, that's a franchise. That's a bona fide franchise quarterback, and you don't have to worry about the position for a long time.
Right. If you're New England, right, and you're in the situation where, we can rebuild, start from scratch, and hope we hit on a coin flip quarterback in the draft, or we can have Deshaun Watson. I mean, you're going to take Deshaun Watson. Again, I would give up first-round talent for 6 years to get a guy like Deshaun Watson, who is proven player in this league and can get the job done right now, especially if you have cap space, which the 3 of those teams are in a pretty good cap situation, too.
Yeah, and let's just move on back to the Kansas City Chiefs. This is a huge game this weekend. And let's start with our breakdown. Bills' offense versus Kansas City's defense.
Yeah. Well,
what do you think we have to do? The Kansas City defense has been playing really well. Their secondary has been one of the top secondaries. I don't think we can deny that.
Against what kind of competition, though? It's not. I said this on the Tuesday show, and I'll say it again here. The Bills need to win the coin toss and accept the ball and go down the field and score. Period. We can take advantage of this defense. They have not seen. They cannot. As we've already alluded to a couple of times here, they have players on defense that you need to look out for. They have a pass rusher. They have Tyrann Mathieu. They have guys like that, but they're certainly vulnerable at multiple levels. Their linebackers are not that great. They're very vulnerable there. One of their cornerbacks might be out for this game. It's going to be tough, even if they have both starting cornerbacks, for them to compete with our 3 wide receivers and whoever else is out there, a 4th wide receiver, a tight end, lining up, Singletary or TJ Yeldon as a receiver, which they did in the last game. I wouldn't be surprised to see that happen a lot in this game. We can certainly jump ahead and win this game purely on the effort of our offense. I don't think that'll be necessary because, again, I trust our defense. But we can win this game purely on the effort of our offense against Kansas City's defense.
I like that. I think you made some great points there. Looking at this Chiefs roster, though, on defense, can I just say a couple of the names? Like Travarius Ward, he's been playing decent this year. Daniel Sorensen he's kind of like the Jim Leonard kind of safety. We say he's probably athletically limited, but he's a smart player. Tyrann Mathieu is we all know he's a household name. He's good. But who is Antonio Hamilton? Who's Damian Wilson, linebacker? Anthony Hitchens, he's been solid his whole career. University of Texas. Willie Gay at linebacker, nah, I'm not feeling it. Frank Clark hasn't really been living up to his billing this year.
Right.
Derek Nottie is a solid run stopper. Chris Jones is an all-pro defensive tackle, but I think, he could be worn down. And then the left defensive end, Tano Pascanon, or however you pronounce it. I probably butchered it, but whatever. So I think that this defense and Steve Spagnuolo, they play defense as a whole unit. So they're playing above what we see on paper, but I don't think that's going to be enough to stymie what the Bills do. Who's going to cover Stephon Diggs? Really? Yeah. You really don't have an answer there. So you're going to see a lot of brackets for Stephon Diggs over top and so forth, which is only going to open things up underneath for Cole Beasley, who is now off the injured list or the injured
he went
report.
Back on today, actually.
Did he go back on?
Limited participant with the knee. Sorry.
Oh, with the knee. So okay. So he's still there, but he's another week recovered, right? So we don't know how that's going to look. We need to see what Gabriel Davis. Yeah, he's going to play, but as far as his effectiveness,
right.
He still looked he was still a little ginger last week, just going back and watching the film. He's not himself yet, but having him on the field is definitely beneficial. John Brown's been playing very well.
Oh, yes.
So I think they're going to have issues trying to stop the Bills. And I think, if the Bills are going to if they want to run the ball out of, 10 personnel, there's opportunities to be made because now you're going to split that you're going to split that defensive up, and they're going to have to pick their poison. I think this is a game where Devin Singletary could have a really good game if they run out of those kind of sets and not these power sets that we see them run out of a lot. So I want to see Devin Singletary in space, kind of reminiscent of what they tried to do with him last week. I want to see that kind of thing. So I think the Bills are going to have opportunities to score on this defense. Like I said, I feel like this game is going to come down to the last possession.
Yeah, that's a good point. I think the attempt should be to freeze the defensive line, right? Chris Jones is a hell of a player. He can really be disruptive. And Frank Clark, he's been quiet this year, but there's a reason he makes, $25 million a year. Because, look, you're going to see these players are going to give it their all. So I think you do have to do some kind of, run-pass option type plays just to freeze the defensive line a little bit because they can really disrupt the passing game if they can get pressure on Josh Allen. And I think the run game will do that, right? It'll have them, think twice and maybe hesitate a little bit and just slow them down. And like you said, I don't know who can keep up with these wide receivers. They play as a unit. I get that. The corners are playing well this year in Ward and Breland. And look, they're a physical football team, and they've been stepping up, the past few years. I think they're middle of the road statistically. They're allowing 358 yards per game, 16th in the league on defense. So middle of the road, but you don't have to do much when you have the top offense in the whole league. And that's how they win football games. So
the big thing, one of the big factors in this game, Gabriel Davis still did not participate in practice on Thursday. We saw that he was clearly hobbled in the Baltimore game. So what does that open the door for Kenny Stills to be called up and play in this game? Or Kumro, who they just got back, who we know they didn't even want to get rid of him, right? He got picked up on the waivers when they were trying to sign him back to the practice squad. So one of those guys could be active for this game and see action because, like we said, you're going to be putting 3-4 wide receivers out there and attacking this defense because that's what we do best. And Kansas City's defense is vulnerable. They bend but don't break sometimes, but they're going to break against a guy like Josh Allen. They have not played that type of top talent. especially with our receiving core. So it'll be interesting to see if Gabe Davis can play. He's obviously going to be out there. But if he is inactive for this game due to injury, do you think they bring in Stills?
Yeah, you know what I said on the Tuesday show. I would love to see Stills just suit up and throw him out there for 10 plays or so, just to give them something to think about.
Yeah,
I
was against it, but in this case, if Davis can't go, you need somebody to replace him.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. I think Davis will play though. I really do think he'll play. But you're right; he's been hobbled the past few weeks, and every time you see him on screen after he's done with the play, you see him running back and he's hobbling. So whatever it is, I mean, is a hobbling Gabe Davis better than a healthy Kenny Stills? That's the question you got to ask yourself. That's what the Bills need to ask themselves, right?
Yes, I think he's been in the offense longer.
Coaching
that helps.
staff trusts their guys.
Gabe Davis made a lot of plays for this team, and they got to lay it on the line this week, right? We can't be messing around with Kenny Stills. I don't even know. Can he even play still? I mean, there's a reason he got picked up off the street. I get he's a talent. But you can't afford the mistakes.
That's why I think they would go with Kumro, maybe even before Stills. Because
but here's the deal,
Kumro's been with them all year. He knows the offense. He has chemistry with Allen. And all he's done is catch touchdowns. So.
All right, so let me disagree with the whole Kumaro thing. Just because the guy caught one damn touchdown, he ain't done shit, okay? Kenny Stills is way better than Jay Kumaro, hands down.
Nobody's. I'm not debating that. It's that Kumaro knows the offense, and
how
that's what this coaching
How do you
staff,
know that Kenny Stills doesn't know the offense? Like, how do we know that?
Because he's been there longer.
It doesn't matter. It could just be different terminology. It could be it could have been the same offense that Houston was running in some regard, right? Think about it. Bill O'Brien comes from Bill Belichick, right? Brian Dable comes from Bill Belichick, and that whole offensive system and so forth. So I think there's a lot of similarities, but the terminology may be a little different. I'm just not here to say that Kenny Stills he just doesn't know the offense because he hasn't been here. He probably does, but here's the thing. You don't have to have, timing is huge, but we're not expecting him to have a big impact. My whole point is it's a chess match. Like, we saw what Kenny Stills did with Desean Watson against the Chiefs last year. He was great against the Chiefs in the playoffs last year. I would love to just put him out there just for the fact that the Chiefs have to go, oh shit, Kenny Stills is out here. We know what he can do. So now they're going to have to change it up a little bit, right? So I just like the idea of maybe throwing him in there.
We'll see if he gets a shot, because it will be interesting if he does get the shot to be out there.
Yeah, I don't think there's no wrong answer there, but it would just be intriguing. I would love to see the chess match for sure.
The one thing, my bottom line, our Bills offense versus this Chiefs defense is the key to this game for me. The Bills can and should score on every single drive of the game. If they're stopped, I'm going to be disappointed. I'm not saying they won't be stopped, but they should score on every single drive. If they don't score, it's disappointing. You shouldn't have done that. And it gives the Chiefs another opportunity. I trust our defense to stop them more than their defense can stop our offense. It's that simple for me. And our offense is going to be what drives this game.
Right, and I agree that should be the mentality in practice, and when they show up, that should be the mentality. Let's flip sides, though. Kansas City's offense versus this Bills' defense. We already touched on it a little bit. How do you slow down this Kansas City Chiefs offense?
All
Sterling,
right, so
what do you got?
Order to slow down this Chiefs offense, which is definitely hard to slow down, I think you have to get pressure with 4. You got to get pressure with your defensive line, right? And you want to contain on the outside, because if Mahomes gets out of the pocket, that's when the magic happens. That's when he starts to create and things get bad. So if you can consistently, just like they did against the Ravens, get pressure with 4. And there's some opportunities to be had on this offensive line. So you got Mike Remmers, who's not a good offensive tackle. He's a right tackle. So you're going to see either Trent Murphy or AJ Epinesa, or you might see, what's his name? Mario Addison or Jerry Hughes, or they might use a combination there. So that's a win. That's an opportunity. And then I look at left guard Nick Algoretti. I think there's opportunities to be made against him. So I also don't think Daniel Kilgore is a great center. So I think they're a little weak up the middle. on that offensive line, and I think the Bills can exploit that. I would love to see them set Ed Oliver loose and maybe use Butler to play that one tech and let Ed Oliver kind of just free him up to rush the passer.
Well, Butler is also on the injury list right now. He did not participate on Thursday, and there's some talk that he will be out, and maybe Trent Murphy will be active again. Granted, one's a tackle, one's an end. So, I mean, I don't know. They're going to have to do some rotation there. But I still think your point still stands, though. Yeah, your point still stands.
So, you guys remember when the Chiefs played when they lost to the Raiders? They used a defensive line spy, right? They were using, what's that guy's name? It's blanking me right now. But what they did was they kind of, set him up in the, ball was snapped. He kind of set up in the middle of defense as a defensive end, kind of spying Mahomes, and it worked. I don't think the Bills are going to get that bold and desperate, but it worked against Mahomes. And they were playing that soft cover 2 zone stuff, and they've been doing it against the Bills too. So I think that the Bills can really, really make Mahomes think twice with their disguise looks. Maybe showing, you're having 7 or 8 guys in the box, and then when the ball's snapped, you don't know who's going into coverage. That's just taking an extra half second to get Mahomes to really have to look who his hot route is or what his first, second, third read is. So I just think the chess match that you have to play, I think is going to be tremendous.
Right.
Earlier in the season, go ahead.
No, yeah, you got one more point to add?
Yeah, earlier in the season, we saw the Bills play that a very vanilla cover 2 nickel-based defense. But recently, we've seen the Bills be more aggressive with their blitzing and so forth. I don't think they're going to blitz a ton because Mahomes will eat that up, just like Josh Allen eats up the blitz.
They know better than to blitz him.
They know better than to blitz. But I think we're going to see a lot of, robber coverages and so forth.
Right. Yeah, I think there's ways to disrupt Pat Mahomes without sending the blitz. First of all, you pointed out the weakness on their offensive line. There's going to be, tell me that Jerry Hughes, who's on fire right now, isn't going to be coming out here saying, I'm getting right at this weakness right here. Line me up next to that guy, right? And let's see who wins. Because I trust Jerry Hughes in that situation. And that means even if you make Pat Mahomes a little bit uncomfortable, that's going to benefit you. The bottom line here is Pat Mahomes and this offense are going to get theirs. You're not going to shut them out. You'd have to be unbelievably incredible to shut them out. I think anybody on earth would say that. But, you got guys like Tyreek Hill and Kelsey who are going to get their catches. It's just about limiting them. I think one of the key matchups is Matt Milano probably lining up with Kelsey and at least stopping him after he catches the ball. Don't let him get loose and get yards after catch and continue to bulldoze people over because he's the best tight end in the league for a reason, because he can do that. But if you can break up a pass here or there, stop him in his tracks when he does catch it, that's going to limit them. Same thing with Tyreek Hill. The guy's faster than anybody in the NFL. So there's nobody we can line up out there that's suddenly going to slow him down and stop him. We just have to maintain it and hope that we can break up a play or, stop him from getting too loose and getting Mahomes enough time to get him a deep ball. So I think we can do that. They'll both have a few catches here and there, but if you can limit them and stop them, that's going to be huge. And again, the biggest difference is we're healthy this game. We have Matt Milano in this game. We have everybody healthy on the defensive side that we need to match up against this. So it's not going to be the same as when we saw them earlier in the season. And I have a feeling this is bending very much in Buffalo's favor.
Yeah, I think, to slow them down, you got to double cover them, or you have to find a way to double cover Tyreek Hill, and you have to find a way to double cover Travis Kelce. Maybe not physically line up 2 people on them and play man, but put a safety over the top of Tyreek Hill, put a safety maybe underneath on Travis Kelce, right? Because he does those underneath routes. I mean, maybe drop back a defensive lineman. Right, just find creative ways to double cover them without physically lining up, because you'll get beat if you line up with them. But if you can maybe disguise the double coverage,
they also still have a guy like Nico Hardman. Don't forget, he's another guy who could get the ball.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, throw it to him. That's fine.
You like that matchup? Hey, who knows?
hope, just pray for a drop. That's just what you got to do against this team.
He's a big tough guy.
But
he can catch.
I'm not going to sit back there and let Tyreek Hill dominate because that's what he does.
They did the
But
first
Travis
game.
Kelsey's the one you got to worry about.
Exactly.
As
That's
much
why
as
I
I
think-
love,
he's the first down getter.
Tyreek Hill, Travis Kelsey, he's the catalyst for that offense. I mean, he really does set everything. He sets the table for everybody else because he's just so dominant at his position. And I don't think Matt Milano, Tremaine Edmonds, you can't cover Travis Kelsey, just like you can't cover the guy what's his name from San Francisco. George Kittle. Those guys are pretty much uncoverable, right? They're too big. They run routes like wide receivers as tight ends. They block well. So Milano's going to have his hands full. It does help that Milano can cover. Tremaine Edmonds can cover. So that's going to help some. But you're not going to stop Travis Kelsey.
Late in the season, I actually said, because we've watched so many Kansas City Chiefs games here in Denver, it's the game that's on TV. So every week, basically. I said late in the season that Mahomes, people were saying Mahomes was in the MVP conversation. And I said Mahomes isn't even the MVP on his own team this year. It's Travis Kelsey. Travis Kelsey has been dominant for them this year, and he's the reason they are so good. And I don't know if there's something going on. We haven't talked about Pat Mahomes, and if he's going to be healthy, we're assuming he's going to play. I don't want to hear any excuses about, he's not 100%. Because if you watch his last 9 games, he hasn't been as ultimately dominant as we've come to expect from him. And that's why I said a guy like Travis Kelsey has really stepped up for this team and become their MVP.
Right, and then that run game as well. Pat Mahomes, you bring up a good point. He is injured. I think that the turf toe is the big thing that comes to mind. And I think the concussion was maybe overblown a little bit. I did read that it was a pinched nerve, not really necessarily a concussion. But it definitely plays a factor in preparation, right? He's got to do these extra tests and got to deal with the media, and the whole team, is kind of impacted by that. How this helps us is I think it's important that the Bills' defense contains Pat Mahomes, like Sterling mentioned earlier. You can't let him run around on you, right? And I think he did that a lot last time they played. And when he gets outside the pocket, he's deadly. So contain him. And I think, him being injured definitely helps the Bills' defense in that aspect. All right, so let's hit our final topic here. Bold prediction from each of you with a final score. And we're going to throw a little 5 for 5 in there. If we had to bet one of these games, Anthony, which one is it?
I'm taking the Bills with the points. I'm picking the Bills to win this game, obviously. So the Bills are getting 3.5 points. To me, I have to take that bet. If I'm picking the Bills to win and they're getting points, of course I'm taking that all day. As for the NFC Championship game, the Packers are currently -3, and I'm taking the Packers in that game. I think they have the better team overall. The Buccaneers have played a ridiculously easy game in the first round of the playoffs. They didn't win the game last week. New Orleans lost it, in my mind. They're still a good team, but I'll take the Packers -3. But my first bet has to be the Bills getting 3.5. I just don't see. I'm picking them to win. They're getting points. That's an easy bet for me.
Ooh.
Dang, okay. All right. And give me a bold prediction.
Yeah, my
and
bold
final
prediction
score.
for this game, the Bills absolutely dominate on offense. I think they score on almost every single possession of the game. I'm going with a final score of Buffalo 34, Kansas City 20. I think our defense can limit them, and our offense can really take control, and that's going to be the key to this game. That's a 2-score win for the Buffalo Bills. Let's do it.
I love how Anthony is just extremely confident. I'm scared as hell when I think about this Bills and the Chiefs. I ain't going to lie. I'm super scared. So if I had to give a bold prediction, I'm going to say Josh Allen throws for 3 touchdowns. I think that's bold when you look at a AFC Championship playoff game. I think Josh Allen can throw for 3 touchdowns and have over 300 yards passing. I think that's bold. Or is it? I don't know. But maybe, maybe I'll go out on a limb and I'll say maybe Tremaine Edmonds gets an interception. How about that? Tremaine Edmonds gets an interception.
I like it.
On Sunday night. And I'm going to, like Anthony, I'm going to take the Bills in a win on this one. And I'm going to say 27-21 Bills.
We got to go back and listen to our shows. I don't think any of us ever picked the other team.
I know.
We got to rename the
But
segment.
look, though, hey,
The
if
guys
you think
picked
about
the
it,
Bills.
we've only been wrong 3 times.
I know, right? It has not been a bad year for them.
That's an outstanding point.
Yeah, that's what
Thanks for
I do.
noticing. All right, bold prediction for me. I think Leslie Frazier has a great defensive game plan, confuses Pat Mahomes. I think Mahomes has a frustrating day, 2 interceptions.
Nice.
Ooh.
And the Bills win. I'll go 26-17
Going against your original
Bills.
prediction, huh?
Yeah, you know, we've only been wrong 3 times. So.
Hey, you know what? And I couldn't live with myself if I picked the Bills to lose. Yeah, dude,
I'm
I
too
can't.
excited,
I can't
so
have that energy.
sue
Man.
me.
I
Let's
can't
go.
have it.
Let's go. As we should be right now. Everybody's picking the Chiefs. There's no pressure on this team. Everybody's hating Buffalo. Even last week, Baltimore lost the game. They wanted to say no credit to the Bills. Well, we're going to show them yet again. It's just the next step. Let's do it, baby.
Yeah, and I'll take the Packers in the other game. Who do you got, Sterling?
Just because everybody's going with the Packers, I'm going to go with the Bucks. You know, Tom, I want to see the Bills and the Bucks in the Super Bowl. I don't want to see Aaron Rodgers. Are you kidding me? I'd rather see a broken Tom Brady. Well, broken. I mean, the man threw 40 touchdown passes this year. He's doing something right.
All right, so yeah, it's a 6:40 kickoff Eastern Time, and it's Jim Nantz and Tony Romo. So I am very excited for that. The last time the Bills were in the conference championship, they beat the Kansas City Chiefs 30-13 in 1994. And we'll end the show with that.
Go Bills, baby.
History's on your side.